His argument is also demonstrably false because we have decades and decades of experimental.
One thing I've noticed about these discussions is that atheists often reference other atheists when making their arguments. That's not necessarily a problem because it's natural to seek validation from those that already agree with you. But it raises a question: if your conclusions are based primarily on sources that already agree with you, how can you tell you're seeing the full picture? Because if we are going to be truly honest about these topics, we have to be willing to step outside of our perspective. So Dan made an assertion in this clip I'm about to play, and it seems airtight at first, especially if you are viewing it from within an atheist worldview. But if you step outside that perspective, you begin to notice a few holes in his conclusion. And that's what I want to break down today.
His argument is also demonstrably false because we have decades and decades of experimental empirical research in a wide variety of fields like anthropology, cognitive psychology, evolutionary psychology, the cognitive science of religion, neuroscience, to show the actual foundation of all morality. And that foundation is the evolutionarily and experientially installed cognitive and biological predispositions that all humans have.
One of the most common explanations of morality in secular thought is that it evolved as a survival mechanism. So the idea is that behaviors like fairness, cooperation, and even empathy were naturally selected because it helped our ancestors thrive. And at surface level, it seems to make sense because societies that cooperate tend to thrive and those that don't tend to collapse. But if morality is just a product of survival, there are some uncomfortable truths we have to acknowledge, because at different points in history, things we now call evil, like slavery, were advantageous to the society. Slavery helped build civilizations, it grew economies, and it strengthened empires. So if morality is just what helps the group survive, how can you ever say that slavery was objectively wrong? If you accept that morality is just an evolutionary tool, then at best, slavery was only wrong when the society evolved past it. It was never truly wrong, it just became inconvenient. And that's a very dangerous precedent. Because if morality is just based on survival, it means that nothing is ever truly wrong. It's only wrong for now until the conditions change. And this isn't just theoretical. History actually shows the opposite of what atheists claim, because many of those that fought to abolish slavery did not do so because of evolutionary logic. They did so because of biblical principles. For instance, figures like William Wilberforce in Britain, along with Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman in America, all drew strength from the belief that each person is made in the image of God. And this conviction made them to stand against an institution that, while advantageous to societies at that time, was inherently unjust. So, if anything, history shows that morality progressed despite the logic of survival, not because of it. So where does this leave us? If morality is just an evolutionary accident, that means nothing is good or evil. It just depends on what works. And if that's the case, we can never say anything is ever objectively wrong. We can never use that line ever, because given a different time and a different context, that might have just been the best thing to do. And that's a very terrifying thought, because it means that there's no level of injustice that is truly unjust. It's just inconvenient for now. But if we believe that certain things are truly wrong, not based on preference but by reality, we're admitting that morality comes from something that is really beyond evolution. We are admitting that our sense of right and wrong comes from something beyond us, something that does not shift with time or circumstance. And this is exactly what some of the greatest abolitionists believed. William Wilberforce fought for decades against the British slave trade because he believed that each human being has an inherent God-given dignity. Frederick Douglass, a former slave who later became an abolitionist, always appealed to the moral law of God as being higher than the laws of men. These weren't men who were simply going along with societal progress. They were fighting against it, and they did so because they believed in objective morality that transcends human opinion. If morality was simply an evolutionary byproduct, these men would have been wrong because they were fighting against what was at that time an advantageous system. But we don't think they were wrong, we see them as heroes, and that tells us something. It tells us that morality isn't just what helps us survive, it is what makes us human. And that's the real question. If morality is real, if it exists beyond just mere survival, where does it come from? That's something worth thinking about. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and see you guys in the next video. Peace.